If someone asks me what is the greatest James Bond film ever made, I honestly don't know the answer. It can be Casino Royale, it can be GoldenEye, Goldfinger, From Russia with Love, The Spy Who Loved Me. There's so many amazing James Bond films. But if someone asked me what is one of the worst James Bond films ever made, this one comes very close. Since No Time to Die's release, I've been reviewing each and every one of Daniel Craig's James Bond films. I've already reviewed Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace and Skyfall. A playlist will appear on the screen. Click on that to watch all of my reviews. I've gone in depth about each and every film of Daniel Craig, so hope you enjoy those videos. Please do check them out. And now we have arrived at... So in this film, we see James Bond face off against this mysterious organization called Spectre, and now we have action, intrigue, thrills, everything that you expect from a James Bond film. I don't want to get straight into what doesn't work about the film. Let's talk about what works first. I think first of all, this feels more like a classic James Bond film. I mean, you have Bond, he has a mission, he's going on that mission. It tries to keep certain things simple and goes old school. And I kind of like that because the previous film Skyfall didn't particularly feel like a Bond film in general. So it's an interesting diversion to take in this film. I kind of like that. And also the cinematography is incredible. I've already talked about the cinematography in Skyfall in that review, but the cinematography in Spectre is nearly as good. I mean, there are a few shots that look so gorgeous. I mean, one of the best things about these Daniel Craig Bond films is hands down the cinematography. If you're looking for the best looking Bond films in the entire franchise, just watch the Daniel Craig films. And another thing I absolutely love about this film is, though the action sequences on a whole aren't particularly that great, there is one sequence on a train where Bond fights off against this henchman played by Dave Bautista. That scene was amazing. I loved that action sequence. It's so well choreographed. It's like the perfect James Bond action sequence. Absolutely love that sequence, and that's truly the highlight of the entire film for me. And Dave Bautista as that henchman, he's cold in this movie. He's seriously very good in his role. I mean, he comes off as this stoic, really cold henchman, and he does a great job. I really love the henchman from this film. He's easily my favorite henchman in a Bond film since Jaws from the Roger Moore film. So he's just so good in this film. That pretty much sums up what I really like about the film. But yeah, now let's get into the stuff that doesn't work. And there's a lot of stuff that doesn't work in Spectre. Where do we even start? So in general, Spectre is just so bland and dull and boring. Imagine that, a James Bond film that is dull and boring. I don't know how, honestly. I mean, because if you take this idea on paper, theoretically this film should have worked. I mean, you have Bond, he's going against this mysterious organization that feels like a classic Bond film. You have action, you have intrigue, you have suspense, you have Bond falling in love. All of those are really good ingredients for a Bond film. And I have absolutely no clue how that doesn't work. It comes off as really dull from the start to the end. I wasn't really engaged in what was happening. Bond investigating into Spectre wasn't that engaging. Like, it was give or take for me. Like, I could literally look away from the screen, look at my phone for some time, and I wouldn't miss anything. It just wasn't captivating to me. It just didn't pull me in with the story. And there are many sequences in the film that felt so artificial to me. I was really surprised. It just feels like all of it was fake. I mean, yes, it's a film, all of it is fake, but it just doesn't immerse you in its experience. It just feels really bland most of its time, and that's really surprising to me because the concept, in theory, it should have worked, but it just doesn't. Another thing to talk about is the action. It isn't particularly great. I mean, it's okay at best. Apart from that amazing train sequence that I've already talked about, there's nothing really here that stands out. It just doesn't have the James Bond level of action in it. If this action was present in any other film other than James Bond film, I still give it a pass, but it's a James Bond film. You have some of the best action sequences ever in James Bond films. Look at the previous film, Skyfall. Such amazing action. There's nothing that really stands out to be a great action sequence. It's fine, it's okay, but nothing that truly feels memorable, and that also applies to the entire film. There's nothing in this film that is memorable. Watching it, you instantly forget plot points that have literally happened a few minutes ago. That's how dull it just feels, and there's nothing that grips you onto the story, which is really strange. I honestly have no clue how that happened. And one major plot point in the film is the love story between Madeleine Swann, who is Mr. White's daughter, and James Bond. Now, Madeleine Swann's character is actually very well written. I could actually care for her, I could like her, and she's very well played by Léa Seydoux, the actress. She does a really good job playing this role, but I just didn't buy into the love story between Bond and her. I mean, individually as characters, they work well enough in the film, but there was absolutely no chemistry between both of them, and so that just takes away a lot from the film in terms of investment. You just don't feel invested in their sequences because you don't really feel much of anything between them. It just doesn't work with me, and it really doesn't have any of the spark that Bond and Vesper have in Casino Royale. There's nothing of that sort. There is no spark, there is no chemistry. It's really hard for me to buy into the fact that this is the woman with whom Bond goes away towards the end into retirement with. It just doesn't sit well with me. And so in this film you have a character called C. It's a James Bond film. You can name a character after the letter of an alphabet, okay? You have M, you have Q, it's fine to have C. But my problem isn't that. My problem is his character is so predictable. Like, there is a twist that happens towards the end where we get to know that he was working with Spectre all the way through. That I knew it the moment he came on screen. That is one of the most predictable twists I've ever seen. Like, it's not even a twist. Why would you put that in as a twist? It was so obvious from the first scene he was in. I just didn't even like his character. He wasn't menacing. He wasn't even like a villain or something. He was just there, and removing him from the movie would not have changed anything. Maybe a few things plot wise, but seriously, him being in the movie didn't add anything to it at all. And one obsession these Daniel Craig films have is to show that everything is connected. Literally everything. From Casino Royale to this film, everything is connected. I mean, why? Why do you want to make everything so complicated? Why do you want to connect everything? We get to know that Blofeld, the villain of this film, played by Christoph Waltz, who isn't an interesting villain. Like, let me just say it out loud. He's just a boring villain who wants to do stuff because he's evil, he wants to blow up the planet or something. I don't know. Like, it's such a boring villain. Christoph Waltz gives a very good performance, and that's literally the saving grace of this character. Otherwise, such a bad villain. So Blofeld, we get to know towards the end, is Bond's kind of a brother from his past. Why? Why are you connecting everything to Bond's past? There's also another twist that Blofeld was the one behind Le Chiffre from Casino Royale, the Quantum organization from Quantum of Solace, and Silva from Skyfall. And so yeah, everything is connected. Why? it just takes the fun out of it. It makes it feel so fake. Fine, have minor connections here and there. The connection that Madeleine Swann was actually Mr. White's daughter, that's a neat connection, that's done well. But just making Blofeld to be Bond's half brother and them having some connection in the past, and then you have all of the villains of the past Daniel Craig Bond films to be actually a part of the Spectre organization, and they were sent by Blofeld to play with Bond or something. God, just it just doesn't work. It really doesn't work. Now, this movie goes fine until a point. Like, the first two acts are fine. I don't particularly hate it, but the third act is one of the most messiest and clunkiest third acts of a Bond film ever. Seriously. From the point Bond goes to the Spectre base, where you get to see these reveals that, you know, Bond and Blofeld are connected and all of that. And Bond literally escapes by destroying the Spectre base by just, you know, shooting at a gas cylinder, and that's the end of Spectre. Such an unsatisfying moment. And then he just flies off. And after that, don't even ask what happens. Like, seriously, something happens. I don't know. Q hacks into something. He stops something. And Madeleine Swann gets kidnapped, and Blofeld puts her in a building. He gives Bond 3 minutes and to save Madeleine Swann, and Bond and Swann jump off from the building, like the topmost floor of the building, and they land on a net. That is literally... How would Bond know there's a net there? Why would he even take that leap of faith? Why would he jump off? Entire third act was literally devoid of any thrill, any suspense, any tension. There was nothing there. The action was stupid, and yeah, it ends with Bond like shooting guns at the helicopter in which Blofeld is in. So yeah, he crash lands, and yeah, they arrest him. So there's nothing, like, seriously, there are millions of other ways in which you could have ended the film. Millions. And you chose to go with this generic, stupid, weird end that just, I don't know, that just isn't satisfying at all. Like, seriously, there's nothing in terms of the action there, and there's nothing in terms of the tension that you have built in a few sequences before. It doesn't pay off well. It's really unsatisfying. If the third act of this film would have been better, it would have ended up being an average Bond film, but now it's just a really below average Bond film that doesn't deliver on what it promises. But overall, as a Bond film, it just doesn't work for me. It falls apart, and this might be my least favorite Bond film of all time. With all of that said, I'm going to give Spectre a C. On the entertainment scale, I can give it a 6 out of 10 because a few things are entertaining, but overall it just doesn't work for me. So with that, I have reviewed each and every Daniel Craig James Bond film prior to No Time to Die. So stay tuned for my review of No Time to Die, which will come out soon. And thank you very much for following me through this series of James Bond films. It's been really fun for me to do this, to rewatch all of the films and just talk about them a lot more. Absolutely love James Bond, grew up with this character, and it's been fun talking about the Daniel Craig films. I mean, sure, there are a few films that don't particularly work to the level that I want them to, but still, it's a fun time watching any James Bond film in general. And also, I can use these reviews as an excuse to wear this suit. I don't wear it as good as Bond, but still, it's fun wearing a suit. So yeah, that's that. So comment down below what you guys thought about Spectre, what you guys think about Daniel Craig's James Bond films in general, and also tell me what is your favorite James Bond film of all time. Comment all of that down below. If you enjoyed this video, do give it a like and hit that subscribe button so that you stay up to date with all of the content on this channel. And thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again.